The first night I worked at the gas station, my manager gave me one piece of advice. He said, "If a black sedan comes in after midnight, don't talk to the driver." I laughed. He didn't. At the time, I thought he was just trying to scare the new guy. 3 nights later, I understood why. The gas station was called Pine Creek Fuel and Mart. It sat alone beside an old highway somewhere in northern Montana. There was nothing around it. No houses, no restaurants, no other businesses. Just a 2-lane highway cutting through hundreds of miles of forest. During the day, truckers stopped there for coffee and fuel. At night, the place became completely empty. That's why the night shift paid so well. I needed the money, so I took the job. My first shift started at 10 p.m. My manager, Carl, showed me around before leaving. Coffee machine is here. Bathroom is there. Security cameras are on this screen. He pointed toward the monitor. Emergency phone is behind the counter. Then he handed me the keys. I noticed there was one key separated from the others. "What does this open?" He looked at it. "Storage room." "Why is it separate?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked through the front windows toward the parking lot. Then he said, "One more thing." I waited. "If you see a black sedan tonight." He paused. "Don't talk to the driver." I smiled. "Why?" Carl looked directly at me. "Because he doesn't buy anything." I laughed. "What does he do?" Carl's expression didn't change. "He asks what time it is." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. The first few hours were completely normal. 11 p.m., midnight, 12:30. A truck stopped for fuel. Couple bought snacks. Then the highway went silent. At 1:30 a.m., I was alone. At 2 a.m., the rain started. At 2:30 a.m., I stopped hearing cars completely. I was sitting behind the counter, watching an old television with the sound turned down. Then I heard tires on wet asphalt. I looked outside. Headlights appeared through the rain. A black sedan slowly entered the parking lot. I checked the clock. 2:42 a.m. The car stopped beside pump number 4. I remembered Carl's warning. Don't talk to the driver. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He was probably in his 40s. Dark jacket, dark hair, completely soaked from the rain. He walked inside. I looked down. He walked directly toward the counter. I said nothing. He stopped in front of me. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he asked, "What time is it?" My eyes moved toward the clock. 2:43 a.m. I suddenly remembered Carl. Don't talk to him. So I said nothing. The man stared at me. Then he smiled. Not a normal smile. It was slow, almost relieved. He picked up a bottle of water, placed it on the counter. I scanned it. $2.19. He put down a $5 bill. I gave him the change. He didn't move. He just kept looking at me. Finally, he asked, "Is the North Road still open?" I frowned. "I don't know." He nodded. Then he looked toward the window. "You should close before 3. I glanced at the clock. 2:43 a.m. "Why?" He smiled again. "Because that's when the road changes." I didn't understand. Before I could ask what he meant, he turned and walked outside. He got into the black sedan. The headlights came on. The car slowly left the parking lot. I watched it disappear into the rain. Then I looked at the security monitor. Camera 4 showed the parking lot. The black sedan was leaving. Everything seemed normal, until I noticed something. The car had entered through the east side of the station, but there was no road there, only trees. I switched cameras. Highway, empty. Parking lot, empty. Pump 4, empty. I stared at the screen. Then the emergency phone rang. Ring. I jumped. Nobody knew I was working that night. I picked it up. "Hello." Static. Then a man's voice, very faint. "You shouldn't have answered him." I froze. "Who is this?" The line went dead. I looked toward the front windows. The black sedan was gone. Then I noticed something on the security monitor. Camera 4. A car was parked at pump number 4. Black sedan. Engine running. I stared at it. But outside the window, there was nothing. No car, no headlights, nothing. I checked the clock. 2:44 a.m. The camera suddenly went black. Then the screen displayed one sentence. No signal. And somewhere outside the gas station, I heard a car horn. One long blast. Honk. Then another. Honk. I looked toward the highway. A pair of headlights appeared in the darkness. The same black sedan. It was driving toward the station again. But this time, the driver's seat was empty. I didn't sleep for the rest of the shift. I kept watching the highway through the front windows, waiting for the black sedan to come back. It never did. At 6 a.m., Carl arrived. The first thing he noticed was my face. "You look terrible." I pointed toward the parking lot. "Something happened last night." He stopped. "What?" I told him about the black sedan, about the driver, about the phone call. And finally, I told him what I saw on the security camera. A car parked at pump 4, with nobody inside. Carl didn't say anything. He just stared at me. Then he asked, "Did you talk to him?" I hesitated. "Not really, Daniel." I answered one question. His face changed. "What question?" I looked at the clock above the counter. He asked what time it was. Carl closed his eyes. For several seconds, he didn't move. Then he whispered, "You shouldn't have answered." I felt a knot forming in my stomach. "What happens now?" He looked toward the highway. "Nothing. Nothing." He nodded. "Just don't come back tonight." I stared at him. "Why?" He picked up his keys. "Because he only comes once." I thought about the black sedan. Then why did I see it twice? Carl stopped walking. He slowly turned around. "What?" "It came back." He stared at me. "When?" 2:44. His expression changed completely. He walked over to the security monitor. "Show me." I replayed the footage. 2:42. The sedan entered. 2:43. The driver walked inside. 2:44. The sedan appeared again. Carl watched the screen. Then he rewound it. Again and again. Finally, he whispered, "That's not possible." I pointed at the screen. "What?" He didn't answer. Instead, he zoomed in on the license plate. The image became blurry, but the numbers were still visible. 7KX 214. Carl stared at them. Then he stepped away from the monitor. "Where did you see that car?" "Pump 4. He shook his head. "No." "What?" "Pump 4 hasn't worked in 11 years." I looked outside. The pump was still there. Old, rusty, but apparently disconnected. Carl walked to the window. He pointed toward it. "That pump was destroyed in an accident." I stared at him. "What accident?" He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Go home, Daniel." I should have listened, but I didn't. That evening, I came back. I told myself it was because I needed the money. That was partly true. The other reason was simple. I wanted to know who the driver was. Carl wasn't there. Another employee was working the evening shift. Her name was Melissa. I asked her about the black sedan. She laughed. "You're the new guy, right?" "Yeah." "Did Carl tell you the story?" "What story?" She looked around, then lowered her voice. "Don't worry about it." "What story?" She sighed. "Every new night worker sees him." I stared at her. "What?" She looked toward the highway. "Usually within the first week." "Who?" She didn't answer. I asked again. "Who is the driver?" She looked at me. "Nobody knows." Then she added, "But everyone knows what happens at 2:43. I felt cold. "What happens?" Melissa smiled nervously. "You'll see." 10 p.m., my shift started. At midnight, nothing happened. 1 a.m., nothing. 2 a.m., still nothing. I started thinking maybe the previous night had been some kind of hallucination. Then the clock reached 2:42 a.m. My heart started beating faster. I watched the highway. Nothing. 2:43. Still nothing. Melissa had gone into the storage room. I was alone. Then I heard tires slowly approaching. I looked outside. A black sedan appeared through the darkness. My stomach dropped. It was the same car. Same model, same license plate, 7KX214. Pulled into pump 4. The engine stopped. The driver's door opened. The same man stepped out. Same dark jacket, same wet hair, same expression. He walked into the store, stopped in front of me, and smiled. You remembered me. I couldn't speak. He picked up the same bottle of water, the exact same brand. He placed it on the counter. I looked at the clock. 2:43 a.m. I whispered, "Who are you?" His smile disappeared. For the first time, he looked afraid. He leaned closer and whispered, "You need to leave before I do." I frowned. Why? He looked toward the front windows. The black sedan was still outside. Then he whispered, "Because this is the night you see what's in the back seat." He picked up the bottle, turned toward the door. I watched him leave. He opened the driver's door, then stopped. He looked back at me and said, "Whatever you do." His eyes moved toward the rear passenger window. "Don't let her see your face." Then he got inside. The headlights came on. The sedan slowly pulled away. I watched it disappear into the darkness. Then I looked at the security monitor. Camera 4 showed the parking lot. The black sedan was moving toward the highway, but this time, I could see someone sitting in the back seat. A woman. She was staring directly at the camera. I leaned closer. She raised one hand and slowly pointed toward the gas station. Then the monitor flickered. For 1 second, the woman's face disappeared, and in her place, I saw my own face staring back at me. The screen went black. Behind me, the store door opened. I turned. Melissa stood there. She was pale. "Daniel." "What?" She pointed toward the front windows. "Who did you let inside?" I looked at her. "I didn't let anyone inside." She shook her head. Her voice trembled. "Then why is there someone standing behind you?" I didn't turn around. Melissa was still standing behind me. Her eyes were fixed on something over my shoulder. I could feel the muscles in my neck tightening. "Daniel." Her voice was barely audible. "Don't move." I swallowed. "Why?" She pointed toward the reflection in the glass refrigerator behind me. I looked at the reflection. There was someone standing directly behind me. A woman, long dark hair, pale face. She was wearing an old-fashioned white dress. I slowly turned. Nobody was there. The store was empty. I looked back at the refrigerator. The woman was still in the reflection, but now she was closer. Her face was almost touching the glass. Melissa screamed. The lights flickered. Then the reflection disappeared. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Finally, Melissa whispered, "That's why Carl told you not to talk to him." I looked at her. "You know what that thing is?" She shook her head. "No. You've seen her before." Her eyes filled with tears. "Everyone who's worked here has." I looked toward the highway. The black sedan was gone. "Who is she?" Melissa hesitated. Then she walked behind the counter and pulled out an old newspaper from underneath the register. The paper was yellow and brittle. She unfolded it carefully. There was a photograph of a highway accident. A black sedan had crashed into a concrete barrier. The front of the car was completely destroyed. I recognized it immediately. It was the same car, same shape, same license plate, 7KX214. I looked at the date, October 14th, 2015. My stomach tightened. 10 years ago. Melissa nodded. "Exactly." I read the headline, "2 killed in late-night highway crash." Underneath were 2 photographs. The first was the man, the driver. The second was the woman from the reflection. I stared at her face. She looked exactly the same. No aging, no difference. Melissa pointed to the article. The man was named Evan Miller. My eyes moved to the second photograph. And her, Rebecca Miller, wife. Melissa nodded. They were driving home from a wedding. I read the article. The accident happened at 2:43 a.m. My hands went cold. I looked at Melissa. "Where did they crash?" She pointed toward the highway. 3 miles north. "That's close." "Too close." I folded the newspaper. "I want to see it." Melissa immediately shook her head. No, I need to know what happened. You don't. I saw the car. She stared at me. You saw more than the car. I didn't answer. She was right. I had seen the woman, and she had seen me. At 3:30 a.m., I left the gas station. Melissa begged me not to go. I promised I'd be back before sunrise. The highway was almost completely empty. Rain covered the windshield. 3 miles later, I found the location. There was an old roadside memorial, 2 crosses, flowers, a faded photograph, and a small metal sign in memory of Evan and Rebecca Miller. I stepped out of the car. The forest was silent. No wind, no insects, nothing. I walked toward the memorial. Someone had recently placed flowers there, fresh ones. I touched them. They were still wet. Then I noticed something strange. There were tire marks in the mud, 2 parallel tracks. They started near the highway and stopped directly beside the memorial. I followed them with my flashlight. The tracks were fresh, very fresh. I crouched down. The tires had the same tread pattern as the black sedan. I stood up slowly. Then I heard a car engine. Behind me, I turned. The black sedan was parked on the highway. Its headlights were off. Nobody was inside. I stepped backward. The driver's door slowly opened. Nobody touched it. The passenger door opened. Then the rear door. One by one. All 4 doors opened. Couldn't breathe. Something was sitting inside the back seat. A woman, Rebecca. She looked directly at me. Then she lifted her hand. She pointed toward the memorial. I turned. The photograph of Rebecca had changed. It was no longer a picture of her. It was a picture of me, standing at the gas station, wearing my uniform, taken that same night. I dropped the flashlight. The woman in the car smiled. Then she whispered, "You were there." I shook my head. "No." Her voice became louder. "You were there when we died." "No." She leaned forward, her face pressed against the window. "You just don't remember." The car suddenly started. The doors slammed shut. The headlights came on. It accelerated toward me. I jumped out of the way. The sedan disappeared into the rain. I stood frozen. Then I noticed something on the ground. A small piece of metal. I picked it up. It was part of an old license plate, 7KX214. But beneath the numbers, there was another marking, a date, October 14th, 2015. I stared at it. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Static. Then a man's voice. "Evan." "Daniel." I couldn't speak. He whispered, "You need to remember what happened that night." "Why?" A long silence. Then, "Because you weren't the one who survived." The call ended. I looked toward the road, and for the first time, I remembered something. A highway, rain, a black sedan, a woman's scream, and my own voice, saying, "Don't let her see me." I stayed beside the highway for several minutes, trying to understand what I just remembered. Rain was falling harder now. My hands were shaking. The memory wouldn't leave me. A black sedan, a woman's scream, my own voice saying, "Don't let her see me." But I had never been there. At least I didn't think I had. I picked up my flashlight and walked back toward my car. That's when I noticed something in the mud. Footprints. They started beside the memorial. They continued across the road. Then they disappeared. I followed them with my eyes. They were barefoot, small, and they were heading directly toward the gas station. I looked at my phone. 3:48 a.m. I suddenly felt like I needed to get back. Immediately, when I reached Pine Creek, the parking lot was empty. Melissa was standing outside. She ran toward my car. "Where were you?" "At the accident site." Her face went pale. "You shouldn't have gone there." "I know." She looked past me. "Did you see her?" I didn't answer. Melissa closed her eyes. "Daniel." "I saw Rebecca." She stepped backward. "Then we don't have much time." "What does that mean?" She looked at the station. "Go inside." The moment we entered, I knew something had changed. The store was colder. The fluorescent lights were flickering. The television behind the counter was displaying static. and every clock in the building had stopped. 2:43 a.m. I looked at my phone. 3:56 a.m. Why are the clocks stopped? Melissa didn't answer. She walked behind the counter and opened a drawer. Inside was an old cassette tape. She handed it to me. This belongs to Carl. What is it? Listen. She inserted it into an ancient cassette player. Static filled the store. Then Carl's voice. He sounded younger, terrified. October 14th, 2015. Pause. I was working the night shift. My eyes moved toward Melissa. The recording continued. At 2:43 a.m., the black sedan arrived. My stomach tightened. The driver came inside. A long silence. Then, but he wasn't alone. The tape crackled. Carl whispered, "Rebecca was already dead." I stared at Melissa. What? The recording continued. "She died before the crash." Another pause. Evan knew. The tape suddenly became distorted. Then Carl's voice returned. He wasn't trying to escape the accident. His voice broke. He was trying to bring someone else with him. The cassette stopped. I stared at the machine. Someone else. Melissa nodded. That's what Carl believes. Who? She looked at me. The person who caused the accident. I felt a chill. You think Evan caused it? No. She shook her head. I think someone was already inside the car. I remembered Rebecca's face. Her words. You were there. I whispered. Who? Melissa didn't answer. Instead, she pointed toward the security monitor. Camera 4 had turned on by itself. The parking lot was visible. The black sedan was parked beside Pump 4. Again. But this time, the driver's door was open. I looked at the timestamp. 2:43 a.m. Melissa whispered, "It's back." I stepped closer to the screen. The rear passenger door slowly opened. A woman stepped out. Rebecca. She stood beside the car. Then she looked directly into the camera. Her lips moved. No sound came through. I leaned closer. What is she saying? Melissa stared, then whispered, "Your name." Rebecca raised one hand. She pointed toward the store. Then she pointed toward the highway. Then she pointed directly at the camera. The screen went black. The store lights went out. And the front doors locked. We heard footsteps. From outside. Step, step, step. Someone was walking across the parking lot. Melissa grabbed my arm. Don't look outside. Why? Because she wants you to. The footsteps stopped. Right outside the door. Then someone knocked. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Melissa whispered. Don't answer. I recognized those knocks. They were the same ones I'd heard on my first night. Then a woman's voice came through the glass. Daniel. I stopped breathing. Rebecca. She continued. I know you remember. I stepped backward. Melissa shook her head. Don't listen. Rebecca knocked again. You were in the car. I looked at Melissa. What does she mean? Melissa's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. Rebecca whispered. You were sitting beside me. My head started spinning. Suddenly, another memory hit me. A woman's hand gripping mine. Rain pouring through broken glass. A man's voice screaming, "Don't look at her." Then another voice. My own. I'm sorry. I collapsed against the counter. Melissa caught me. Daniel. Couldn't breathe. I remembered the car. I remembered Rebecca. But there was something else. Something I had forgotten. The black sedan hadn't crashed because of the rain. It had crashed because someone had deliberately turned the steering wheel. And that person was sitting in the back seat. I looked at Melissa. Who was in the back seat? She stared at me, then slowly shook her head. I don't know. The knocking stopped. Silence. I looked toward the glass doors. Rebecca was gone. But something was written across the fogged glass from the outside. For words. You were the passenger. Melissa read it, then looked at me. Daniel. What? She pointed toward the highway. A black sedan was approaching. Its headlights were getting closer, 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 until it stopped directly in front of the gas station. The driver's door opened. Evan stepped out. He looked at me through the glass. Then he pointed toward the back seat. The rear door opened. Nobody was sitting there. Evan smiled and shouted through the glass, "She isn't the one you should be afraid of." Behind him, another figure slowly stepped out of the darkness. A man, wearing my exact jacket, with my exact face. He looked directly at me and smiled. The man standing behind Evan had my face. Not similar, not close. Mine. Same eyes, same jaw, same scar above my eyebrow. Even the small mole beneath my left eye was there. I couldn't move. Melissa grabbed my arm. "Daniel!" I couldn't answer. The man smiled. Then he lifted his hand. I noticed something in his palm. A car key. The same key Carl had given me on my first night. I looked down at my own pocket. My key was still there. The man outside slowly turned it between his fingers. Then he pointed toward the gas station. The front doors unlocked. Click. Melissa whispered, "Don't let him inside." But the man didn't enter. He simply stood there, waiting. Evan walked toward him. For the first time, the two men stood side by side. One was the driver from 2015. The other looked exactly like me. Evan said something to him. I couldn't hear it through the glass. The man shook his head. Then he pointed at me. Evan looked toward the station. His face changed. He looked terrified. He stepped backward. The man grabbed him by the shoulder. Then something impossible happened. Evan's body began to change. His skin became pale. His hair turned gray. His clothes changed. Within seconds, he looked exactly like the photograph from the newspaper. Then he disappeared. The man with my face was alone. He smiled and walked away. The doors were still unlocked. Melissa locked them again. Then she pulled the blinds down. "What was that?" She shook her head. "I don't know." "You're lying." She looked at me. "I've seen him before." My stomach tightened. "When?" "Every time someone works here long enough." "How long?" She looked at the clock. 2:43 a.m. Then she whispered, "Usually after the fourth night." I remembered my first shift. Tonight was my fourth. I stared at her. "You knew this would happen." She didn't answer. "Melissa." She looked down. "I'm sorry." "For what?" She finally said. "For letting you take the job." She led me into the storage room. There were old boxes everywhere. At the back was a metal filing cabinet. She unlocked it. Inside were dozens of folders. Each one had a name. Thomas Reed, James Parker, Michael Grant, Robert Ellis. Some names were dated decades ago. I opened one. Inside was a photograph. A man standing behind the gas station. His face had been crossed out. Below it, Night Worker 2018. Status, missing. Another folder. Night Worker 2020. Missing. Another. 2022. Missing. I looked at Melissa. "How many?" She whispered. 23. I closed the folder. "What happened to them?" She pointed toward the security monitor. "Watch." The monitor showed the parking lot. Nothing. Then the black sedan appeared. It stopped at pump 4. The driver's door opened. Nobody stepped out. The rear door opened. Rebecca emerged. She looked toward the station. Then she walked to the front door. She stopped and looked directly at the camera. Her mouth moved. This time I understood her. "He's coming." The camera switched automatically. Hallway, then storage room. I froze. We were looking at ourselves on the monitor, but there was someone standing behind us. The man with my face. I turned around. Nothing. I looked back at the screen. He was still there, standing directly behind me. Then the screen changed. A different hallway. An old hallway. The same gas station. But it looked different. Newer. The date on the camera. October 14th, 2015. I watched the footage. A younger version of Carl stood behind the counter. Evan entered. Rebecca followed. Then another man walked in. I couldn't see his face. He was wearing a dark jacket. Carl looked terrified. Evan shouted at him. Rebecca started crying. The unknown man walked toward them. Then the footage distorted. Static. When it returned, the black sedan was outside. Evan and Rebecca were inside, and the unknown man was sitting in the back seat. I leaned closer. The man slowly turned toward the camera. His face became visible. My heart stopped. It was me, but older, much older, with blood running down his forehead. He stared directly into the camera. Then he smiled. The footage ended. I stepped away from the monitor. "That's impossible." Melissa was crying. "What?" She pointed at the file cabinet. "Look at the date." I opened the oldest folder. Inside was a photograph. The same man. My face. But the photograph was dated 2004. I stared at it. "That's 16 years before the accident." Melissa whispered, "He's been here longer than anyone." I looked at her. "Who is he?" She shook her head. "We don't know." "Then why does he look like me?" She hesitated, then said, "Because the gas station doesn't create faces." "What does it do?" She looked toward the locked front doors. "It remembers people." A loud bang came from outside. Bang. We both jumped. Another. Bang. The glass shook. Melissa grabbed my arm. "Don't look." But I did. Through the gap in the blinds, I saw the black sedan, and someone was sitting in the driver's seat. The man with my face. He lowered the window and looked directly at me. Then he raised a piece of paper. Even through the rain, I could read it. It said, "You were never the driver." He turned the paper around. There was another sentence. "You were the passenger." My memory came back. Not a fragment this time. Everything. The accident. The rain. Rebecca screaming. Evan fighting with someone. And me, sitting in the back seat, beside the unknown man. I remembered what happened next. I remembered the moment before the crash. The man had leaned toward me and whispered, "If you survive, I'll wear your face." Then the headlights came toward us. The steering wheel turned. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. And Rebecca screamed my name. But the worst part wasn't the accident. It was what happened afterward. Because I remembered opening my eyes and seeing myself standing outside the wreckage, watching the car burn, watching Rebecca die, watching Evan crawl out, and beside me stood the man with my face. He whispered, "Now we wait." The memory ended. I collapsed against the wall. Melissa knelt beside me. "Daniel." I looked at her. My voice barely worked. "I died that night." She stared at me. "No." I shook my head. The person who came back wasn't me. Outside, the black sedan's engine started. The headlights turned toward us, and the man wearing my face smiled. Then the gas station clock moved. For the first time that night, 2:44 a.m., the sedan disappeared. But on the security monitor, a new message appeared. Next night, 2:43 a.m., and underneath it, passenger required. I didn't sleep after that. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same scene. The burning sedan, Rebecca screaming, the man with my face standing beside me, and those words, "Now we wait." At 6 a.m., the morning employee arrived. I didn't tell him anything. I simply handed him the keys and walked outside. The sun was rising behind the mountains. For the first time, Pine Creek looked normal, almost peaceful. I drove straight to the town. I needed answers. The library opened at 8 a.m. I spent nearly 3 hours searching old newspapers. October 14th, 2015. Pine Creek Highway. Evan and Rebecca Miller. I found the article, but there was something wrong. The original article said, 2 dead, 1 survivor. I stared at those words. 1 survivor. The police report mentioned a young man who was found unconscious near the wreck. No identification, no driver's license, no family, nothing. He was taken to a hospital, released 3 days later, then disappeared. I read the description. Male, approximately 25 years old, dark hair, small scar above the left eyebrow. I touched my eyebrow. The scar was there. I whispered, "That's me." But there was another detail. The survivor had told police one sentence before leaving the hospital. I found it near the bottom of the report. I wasn't driving. Then he disappeared. I drove back toward the accident site, but this time I didn't stop at the memorial. I kept driving. 3 miles. 4. 5. The road should have continued north. Instead, I saw something I had never noticed before. A small dirt road. It disappeared into the forest. There was no sign, no map marker, just an old wooden post with one word carved into it. Miller. I stopped the car. I didn't know why, but I knew I had to follow it. The road was barely wide enough for one vehicle. Trees scraped against both sides of my car. After about 10 minutes, my GPS lost signal. Then my phone lost reception. I kept driving. The forest became darker, even though it was almost noon. Finally, the road opened into a clearing. There was an abandoned motel. The sign above it read, Pine Creek Motor Lodge. Most of the letters were missing. The building looked abandoned for decades. I got out. The front door was already open. Inside, the lobby was covered in dust. A broken bell sat on the counter. Behind it was a wall filled with old room keys. I noticed one key hanging by itself. Room 17. I picked it up. My hands started shaking. Room 17. The same number as the gas station's pump? No, couldn't be a coincidence. I walked upstairs. The hallway was dark. Room 17 was at the very end. I unlocked it. Inside was a small bed, an old television, a wooden table, and photographs covering the walls. Dozens of them. Black and white photographs, color photographs, newspaper clippings. Every photograph showed the same black sedan. Different years, different locations, different people, but always the same car. 7KX 214. I picked up one photograph. It showed the gas station. The photograph was dated 1998. Another 2004. Another 2011. Then one from 2015. And another from 2026. My hands went numb. The car had been appearing for decades. I looked closer at the 2026 photograph. It showed me standing behind the gas station counter, taken from outside. I turned the photograph over. There was writing on the back. He has found his replacement. I dropped it. Then I noticed something beneath the table. A cassette recorder. I pressed play. Static. Then a woman's voice. Rebecca. If you're hearing this, you've already found the motel. I froze. Her voice continued. The road you're on doesn't exist. I looked toward the window. The forest outside was completely still. It only appears to people who have already died. I stopped breathing. Rebecca continued. Evan didn't bring me here. Pause. The passenger did. I whispered. Who? The tape answered as if she'd heard me. We called him the passenger. My heart started beating faster. He doesn't have a face of his own. I looked at the photographs. He takes the face of whoever survives. I stepped backward. The cassette continued. That's why Daniel. I froze. My name. He looks like you. The tape suddenly stopped. I stared at the recorder. Then the motel television turned on by itself. Static filled the screen. A security camera image appeared. The gas station. Live. I could see the counter, the pumps, the highway. Then the camera slowly turned toward the road. A black sedan was driving toward the station. The clock on the gas station wall read 2:42 a.m. I checked my phone. It was 12:38 p.m. The television showed the clock changing. 2:43 a.m. The black sedan stopped. The driver's door opened. The passenger stepped out. He looked directly at the camera. Then the screen changed. A second camera appeared. This one showed the motel room where I was standing. I stared at the screen. I could see myself from behind, but there was someone standing behind me. I slowly turned. Nothing. I looked back at the television. The figure was still there. It leaned closer to my reflection. Then I heard a whisper directly beside my ear. You came back. I spun around. Nobody. The motel door slammed shut. Bang. I ran toward it. Locked. I pulled the handle. Nothing. Then something began scratching from the other side. Slowly. Scratch. 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 A voice whispered through the door. My voice. Daniel. I backed away. The television went black. Then one final sentence appeared on the screen. Tonight you will drive. The lights inside the motel suddenly turned off. And somewhere downstairs, a car engine started. The sound of the car engine grew louder. I was still trapped inside room 17. The motel was completely dark. I couldn't see my hands. Then the engine stopped. Silence. I tried the door again. Locked. I slammed my shoulder against it. Nothing. Then I heard footsteps downstairs. Slow. Heavy. Someone was walking through the lobby. Step. 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 I grabbed the old cassette recorder. There had to be something else on it. I pressed rewind. The tape clicked. Then I pressed play. Rebecca's voice returned. If you're hearing this, you need to understand one thing. Static. The passenger doesn't kill everyone. I stopped breathing. He needs someone alive. Pause. Someone who can drive. The tape crackled. Every time the clock reaches 2:43, the road opens. Another pause. The people inside the car aren't ghosts. Her voice became quieter. They're passengers. I looked toward the door. The footsteps had stopped. They can't leave until someone takes their place. I whispered, then who is the driver? The tape answered, the driver is whoever survived the last accident. My stomach dropped. I suddenly understood. Evan wasn't driving the car. Rebecca wasn't driving. The person who looked like me wasn't driving. The passenger was choosing someone else to drive. The tape continued. Daniel. I froze. If you're still alive. The tape hissed. Don't get into the car. The recorder stopped. At that exact moment, the motel room door unlocked. Click. I slowly opened it. The hallway was empty. I stepped outside. The lights were back on. But something was different. Every motel room door was open. Room 1, Room 2, Room 3, all the way down the hallway. Inside every room was a person. Some were sitting on beds. Some were standing. Some were staring at me. And every single one of them looked exactly like someone I had seen in the photographs. Victims, survivors, people who had disappeared. Then one of them spoke. An old man. Don't go downstairs. Another voice came from room 12. He's waiting. Another from room 8. He knows you're here. I looked toward the staircase. At the bottom stood the man with my face. He smiled. Then he said, you took your time. I couldn't move. He walked upstairs, one step at a time. When he reached me, I could see his face clearly. It was mine, but his eyes were different, completely empty. He leaned closer. Do you remember the accident now? I nodded. He smiled. Good. Who are you? He laughed quietly. You already know. No. His expression changed. You just forgot. I stepped backward. He continued. You were sitting beside me. I don't remember. You will. Then he reached into his jacket. He pulled out an old photograph. He handed it to me. I looked at it. It was a picture of the 2015 accident. Evan's black sedan. The wreckage. Rebecca, Evan, and me, sitting in the back seat. But there was something else. A fourth person. The man beside me. The passenger. I looked at him. Why did you make me survive? He smiled. I didn't. I frowned. Then who did? He pointed toward the staircase. At the bottom stood Rebecca. She was staring at us. She slowly raised her hand and pointed at me. The passenger whispered. She did. Rebecca started walking toward us. The passenger stepped backward. For the first time, he looked afraid. Rebecca reached the top of the stairs. She looked directly at me. Then she said, you weren't supposed to remember. I stared at her. Why? She began crying. Because if you remembered. She looked toward the passenger. He would know you were ready. The passenger smiled. Then every light in the motel went out. When the lights came back, Rebecca was gone. So was the passenger. I ran downstairs. The motel lobby was empty. The front door stood open. Outside, the black sedan was waiting. Its engine was running. I stopped. The clock above the lobby door read 2:42 a.m. I looked at my phone. 2:41 a.m. The motel clock was moving backward. I took one step toward the door, then another. The sedan's headlights turned on. The driver's door opened. Nobody was sitting inside. Then the rear passenger door opened. Rebecca was sitting inside. She looked at me and whispered, "Please." I stepped closer. "Please what?" She pointed toward the driver's seat. "Drive." I shook my head. "No." Her face changed. She stopped crying. Then she smiled. Not Rebecca's smile, the passenger's smile. And behind me, a voice whispered, "Good choice." I turned. The passenger was standing inside the motel. But this time, he wasn't wearing my face. He was wearing Evan's. He looked at me and said, "Then we'll need another driver." The clock changed. 2:43 a.m. Every light on the highway came on at once. The road outside the motel stretched into the darkness. But it wasn't the same road anymore. There were hundreds of headlights in the distance. Cars, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all driving toward us. And every single car was the same black sedan. I stepped backward. The passenger smiled. "Tonight, Daniel." He pointed toward the highway. "You finally get to see where they go." Then the first black sedan crossed the motel entrance. And inside the driver's seat, I saw myself. The first black sedan passed the motel. Then another. Then another. They came out of the darkness one after another, headlights cutting through the fog. All of them were identical. Same black paint, same damaged front bumper, same license plate, 7KX214. I stood frozen in the motel doorway. Then I saw the drivers. Every car had someone behind the wheel, and every driver had my face. Some looked young, some looked old, some were covered in blood, some were staring straight ahead. But they were all me. The passenger stood behind me. He whispered, "Every survivor becomes a driver eventually." I turned toward him. "How many?" He smiled. "All of them." I looked back at the highway. The cars weren't following the road anymore. They were driving through the forest, straight through the trees. No road, no headlights reflecting off anything, just darkness swallowing them. Then I noticed something. Every sedan had passengers, people sitting in the back seats. Hundreds of them. Some were men, some women, some children. Some looked decades old, and some looked exactly as they had on the night they died. Rebecca was sitting in one of the cars. She was looking directly at me. She raised her hand against the window. I ran toward her. "Rebecca!" The car stopped. The rear door opened. She stepped out. For a moment, she looked completely normal. She walked toward me. "Daniel!" I stared at her. "Why did you save me?" She looked down. "I didn't." "Then who did?" She looked toward the passenger. He was standing beside the motel entrance, watching us. Rebecca whispered, "You saved yourself." I didn't understand. "What?" She stepped closer. "You were the one who turned the wheel." My stomach dropped. "No, you were driving." "No, you killed Evan." I shook my head. "That's not what I remember." She looked at me sadly. "That's because he changed your memory." I turned toward the passenger. "What did you do to me?" He smiled. "I gave you what you wanted." "What did I want?" He stepped closer. "To forget." Then everything came back. Not pieces. Everything. The night of the accident. The rain. The highway. Rebecca beside me. Evan in the passenger seat. And the passenger sitting behind us. He wasn't human. He had been following us for miles. Rebecca had seen him first. She screamed. Evan tried to stop the car. I turned around. The passenger was smiling. Then he said, "Someone has to stay." I grabbed the steering wheel. I remember turning it. The car crashed. Evan died instantly. Rebecca survived for a few minutes. I survived. The passenger survived. But before Rebecca died, she grabbed my hand. She whispered, "Don't let him take you," promised her. Then the passenger leaned toward me. He said, "You don't have to remember this." And I didn't. For 11 years. I looked at Rebecca. "Why did you come back?" She smiled. "Because you finally remembered." "What happens now?" She looked at the clock above the motel. It was still frozen at 2:43 a.m. Then she pointed toward the highway. "Now you choose." "Choose what?" she said. "Who drives?" I looked at the black sedan. The driver's door was open. The passenger walked toward it. "Get in," he said. I didn't move. He smiled. "Someone always drives." I looked at Rebecca. She shook her head. "Don't." The passenger opened the driver's door. "If you don't drive, another person will." I looked at the endless line of black sedans. Then I understood. The cars weren't carrying the dead. They were carrying people who had been trapped between life and death. The only way to end it was to stop the journey. I walked toward the driver's seat. Rebecca screamed, "Daniel, no!" I got inside. The passenger sat beside me. The engine started. The dashboard clock showed 2:43 a.m. He smiled. "Finally." I looked at him. Then I noticed something on the dashboard. A small emergency switch. I remembered the gas station, the emergency lights, the old warning. If you survive 244, the road disappears. I pressed the switch. Nothing happened. The passenger laughed. "You still don't understand." I looked at the clock. 2 hours 43 minutes and 58 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 hours 43 minutes and 59 seconds. 1 second. Then 2:44 a.m. The entire world went silent. The engine stopped. The headlights disappeared. Every black sedan on the highway vanished. The motel disappeared. The forest disappeared. The passenger screamed. For the first time, I saw fear on his face. His body began cracking like glass. He grabbed my arm. "You can't leave." Pulled away. "Neither can you." He screamed. His face changed. Evan, Rebecca, Carl, Melissa, then mine. Every face he had ever stolen flashed across him. Finally, his body collapsed into darkness, and the clock changed. 2:45 a.m. For the first time in 11 years, it moved past 2:44. I woke up beside the highway. Sunlight was coming through the trees. There was no motel, no black sedan, no road into the forest. Only the old memorial. Evan and Rebecca's names were still carved into it. But beneath them was something new. A third name, Daniel Carter. I touched the letters. Then they slowly disappeared. I stood there for a long time. Eventually, I walked back to Pine Creek. The gas station was still there, but it was different. Clean, bright, normal. Carl was standing behind the counter. He looked at me. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You came back." I nodded. "What happened to Melissa?" He frowned. "Who's Melissa?" My stomach dropped. "She worked here." Carl shook his head. "Daniel, there hasn't been a woman working here in years." I looked toward the security monitor. Camera 4 showed the parking lot. Pump 4 was gone. There was a new concrete floor where it had once stood. I walked outside. The rain had stopped. The highway was empty. For the first time, I felt safe. Until I looked at the gas station clock. 2:43 a.m. I froze. Carl walked outside. "What?" I pointed at the clock. "That clock." He looked up, then smiled. "It hasn't worked in years." I looked back toward the highway. A pair of headlights appeared in the distance, slowly approaching. My heart started beating faster. A black sedan emerged from the darkness, pulled into the parking lot, stopped. The driver's door opened. Nobody stepped out. Then the rear passenger door opened. A young man climbed out. He looked around nervously, then walked toward the store. As he passed me, he stopped. He looked directly into my eyes and whispered, "Are you Daniel?" Couldn't breathe. "Who are you?" He pointed toward the black sedan. "My manager told me to come here for the night shift." My blood turned cold. Then he asked, "Do you know why they told me not to talk to the driver?" I looked at the sedan. The driver's seat was empty, but in the rearview mirror, I could see someone sitting there, someone with my face, smiling. The gas station clock changed. 2:44 a.m., and from inside the sedan came a familiar voice. "You won't remember me tomorrow." I closed my eyes, because I finally understood. The passenger wasn't gone. He had simply found another way to travel. And this time, he wasn't looking for a driver. He was looking for a passenger.